This interview is with Lucille Jones, April 27th, 2007. The interviewer is Brenda Hepler. Okay, Lou, so what are your first and best childhood memories of libraries?
And I love this one. We had a librarian, and her name was Mrs. Van Meter.
And where was this?
The library was almost where the old library is now.
In Lafayette.
In Lafayette,
Okay.
almost where the old library. It was a small building, but the town had built us a tennis court. They got together and built us a tennis court, so we kids right on the corner over there. In fact, we were trying to decide, I think when they built the new library, they tore the tennis court up. Out. By that time, there was Stanley School. But anyway, Mrs. Van Meter was a great big funny lady with a great big hat. And she had a big old car, and she'd drive down to the train station to get the books, I guess. Anyway, when you went to the library, you didn't pick out your book. She had your book ready. She kept track of everything you read, and she had the next book ready. And I especially remember reading Anne of Green Gables, and she'd say, "All right now, Lucille, this is your next one." And she'd question you about it when you got back, that you had read it. So we learned that, we really learned to be readers from this funny.
How old were you when you started going to the Lafayette Library?
I was probably about 8 years old. Yeah.
Great. What were your favorite childhood books?
I think Anne of Green Gables. You know? That's the one that I keep thinking of. And of course we read, oh gosh, all of them. I remember reading something about orphans, and well, then we got later to Tom Sawyer and all that. That after we'd gotten through the girl books, and she decided we were ready for the others. In fact, she said, "You have brothers, so I'm going to let you read Tom Sawyer."
That's great. Now, where did you live before you came to Lafayette at age? You said you came.
We lived in a silver mine up at Silverado, up out in Nevada City, and it, I think, closed because of the Depression. I don't really know why it closed.
And then your family moved.
Yeah, and then my dad was out of a job. He had a wife and 3 kids, so he came to Lafayette because the reservoir was a WPA project.
Oh, the actual building of the reservoir.
It was a government project to get jobs for people. This is what, no, I didn't know as a kid, but since then it's come through to me that's what it was. So we came here so my dad could work on the dam.
And what year was this? What years were these? What years were these?
This had to be in the 30s.
Yeah, early 30s.
Early 30s. Yeah. Because we had, they built the pumping plant, so we had municipal water then.
And what awareness of community did you have at this time in your life? Were you conscious of any kind of sense of community?
Oh, it was fabulous, unbelievable. No, I would talk to my brother. He lives in Hawaii, on the phone, and he's 4 years younger than me, and his greatest memory, of course, is having the tennis court. And a couple of the older men in town taught us to play tennis, and both he and I ended up on the tennis teams at high school, which seemed odd. Anyway, the whole town was the church.
Which church?
The Methodist Church. That's where our mothers were. When we got out of school, you went home, you put on your school clothes, and you went down to the church to check. Then you were on your own to go and play. I think back why my mother was always at the church. There was a ladies' aid, they called them. I think they just congregated there. I don't think they did anything. But I asked my brother about memories. He said, "Don't you remember we used to ride on the back of the plow?" There was an old man, I thought he was an old man, he probably wasn't old, up off of Moraga Road heading up over the hill. He would plow all the property there, and he'd let us ride on the back of the disc that plowed.
Oh, yeah. So. Where did you actually live in Lafayette? So that, like, I mean, your mother didn't have a car, right? So
Sure she did.
So she did have her own car.
Yeah.
So she had the car. So from where you lived to the Methodist church? Could you walk? Or?
Oh yeah, we lived just where we lived in a house where the um, Masonic temple is. So we walked to school.
Which was Lafayette School.
Yeah. I do have one great memory.
Uh-huh.
There were four. My mother had 4 kids. My mother, you did like this.
Yeah.
And I can remember my little brother wanted to go to school, but he couldn't go to school. He wasn't old enough.
Mm-hmm.
And he would run away and come down to the school, and he would get on his hands and knees and he'd holler in the ventilator, Lucille, and the teacher would go out and get him and bring him in and sit him in my seat. I could remember thinking I was going to kill him. Then I can remember my mother coming in the schoolroom and saying, Lucille did not make her bed. And the teacher said, to this day, I could not leave this house without making a bed. If I was dying, I would make my bed. Anyway.
Those are great. And your education, then you went to what is now Lafayette School, and then what high school did you go to?
We had to go on the train to Mount Diablo, to Concord.
To Concord.
And I think we did that. I was the last class that graduated.
And then Las Lomas was built there?
No, Acalanes.
Oh, Acalanes.
Then, so my brothers and sisters finished at Acalanes.
And Acalanes that was then built before Las Lomas?
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where. Yes, I'm sure it was.
Okay.
I'm sure it was. But I wouldn't stake my life on it.
Yeah, okay. And what work experiences have you had? You graduated from high school. Did you go on to college?
Well, I went to junior college in San Francisco. But for me, see, the war started.
Ah.
So we were in the height of a war for 5 years. So, yeah.
And so what did you do for work?
We married right away.
Oh, you married
Yeah.
right away.
So I never worked until, no, I never had a real job. I worked for my brother off and on doing his bookkeeping and stuff like that. But I never had a career, no. But I started volunteering real young.
Okay, so as an adult then, what were your community experiences when you started volunteering? What kind of volunteer jobs did you do?
I volunteer for juvenile hall over on the way to Martinez. Thinking I'm an artist, which I turned out to be. I didn't know it till I was 30. I did craft classes there for the girls, and then I used to go to convalescent hospitals and do craft things.
Wonderful.
Then I decided I was asked by a doctor's wife to come to the Concord Hospital and decorate their gift shop. Well, I've been there 35 years. But then I turned out to be a hospital volunteer, right on the floor.
And, see, I'm saying what attracted you?
But the most fun about my family is my son next door, his great-grandfather was the first blacksmith in Lafayette.
Oh, really?
His name was Bill Thompson.
Okay, so let's go back a minute. So your father came here to work with building the reservoir. So
Yeah.
then, did you have parents, or he had family here already?
No.
So how did the great-grandfather?
That's my husband's side.
Oh, right. So was he originally from Lafayette?
Yeah.
Oh, your
And
husband.
his grandfather.
His grandfather was.
Yeah, so actually, my grandson, who's in medical school now, he's the oldest pioneer in Lafayette.
Really?
And you know, he came home, he was here on a spring break. And he said, you know, Grandma Lou, I was telling him how nice it was to grow up in a little town. And I said, what little town are you talking about? He said, this one. I said, you're kidding. See, to him, this is a little town.
Yeah.
And he was saying how much he loved growing up in this little town.
Isn't that great? Well,
Yeah. So his great-great-grandfather was the first blacksmith here in Lafayette.
Okay, so your husband's family then were some of the very first people.
They were the first one.
And your husband then went through all his education here.
Yeah, I went to graduate at Cal, yeah.
Oh, so he was, what, civil engineering then?
No, my husband was an accountant.
Oh, he was a
Yeah.
carpenter. Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's what this poor lady got it all wrong, you know, but which is okay.
Yeah.
History gets fouled
Right,
up.
right. Well, it just goes to
No,
show.
town was wonderful in those days.
Yeah.
When I was little, um,
What was the population then? Do you have any idea?
there were only about 400 people here when I was little. Your mother knew where you were at all times. In fact, you know the bar called the Roundup?
Yeah.
Up until 4 years ago, I had never been in there. In fact, I was told when I walked to walk very fast by there. I don't know what was going to happen to me, but I was go very fast by there. And I don't know if you know Tom White. He's real involved in a lot of the city stuff. He said, Lou, I'm taking you and Sally to the Roundup. We got in there. I said, oh, Tom, this is awful. It's loud. Awful. I was waiting for some terrible thing to happen to me.
Now, looking at Lafayette as a community, past and present, you know, kind of merging two,
Well-
defining the goals of community as a place of mutual support, shared values, and acceptance of difference. How do you see Lafayette meeting those goals?
I don't see it at all now. No. And of course, it was a little town, so it had to be that way. We knew everybody, and we had the old town hall, and
Which is the theater now, right?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I graduated from the 8th grade in that building. But we would have, my dad and all the people, they would have dances there.
Yeah.
And we'd dance with our dad, and then we'd go to sleep on the benches, and then they would dance and have a party, and then we'd all go home. So it was very community. Not being involved at all now, I don't, I keep wondering why something doesn't. I don't know why Moragas are allowed to block all of our property downtown, and we can't even shop I don't even shop in Lafayette. I don't know why it's allowed. This just boggles my brain. And now what's happened here, I'm beyond angry. It's my fault I haven't called yet. I've got a phone. When you go out this upper road, now they put up some kind of a yellow light. We now can't see past, the light sits up, we can't see if a car's coming up. I almost got hit the other day.
Yeah, you need to call that.
Then I just, every day I think, oh, you forgot to call.
Make a point. That'll be as soon as I leave.
Because I finally, my son said, well, Mom, if you get hit there, we're going to sue the city, I'll swear. As I've never been that close to being hit.
Yeah, because the light itself, you're saying.
Well, nobody even slows down. I don't know why they're there. I counted 27 cars the other day when I wanted to get out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There might be people like you that, are trying. I don't know. Do you think so?
I'm taking your interview, and so I'm not going to be the voice
Yeah.
right now. Okay, I'll talk to you about it
Yeah.
after the tape. I'm on your side of the story. Okay, so but I think I think people are trying. So let's go on with the rest of the questions. Yes. Okay. So, how do you now have in your experience? You obviously knowing Sally. Are you part of the Friends of the Library?
No.
So
No. Sally and I paint together.
All right. So you have not been involved at the library per se.
Not like Sally, no.
I see.
But
Okay.
involved, I would say, more mentally and emotionally than physically.
I see. As opposed
Yeah.
to being involved in the library, you're
Yeah.
more of the historical.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to go to city meetings because I got involved with this Tom White, and 5 of us were called the Art Commission.
Oh.
And we got that mural put up on the Safeway building.
Oh, okay.
And after that, we were sort of dropped. So we've never gotten back into it.
Is there an art commission now still?
We were it for a while. So I don't know. This, yeah, you should get to meet this Tom White. He's a really interesting man.
Yeah, okay. Now, as far as the library in 1962, when it was built, do you have any particular memories about that with your kids?
No, no, I really don't. And I called around and I asked a lot of people that would be of age then, like, say, my kids. And they said, we used to go there, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Um, I think, and of course, in later years, because where it is, it's so difficult to get in there. If you're going that way, you can't hold up traffic for an hour to turn in. So for me to go to the library, I go all the way around, take that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very difficult, and
Did you know anything about the book delivery program? I read about that somewhere, and I was
no,
wondering-
I don't.
Okay, all right, because
I don't-
they talked about that.
I don't even know.
But like in your day, I mean, what was the first women's librarian's?
Her name was Van Meter.
Van Meter. She went to the train.
She had a little house where the entrance to Safeway.
Oh.
And she was a funny lady. We're all kind of scared of her. I would read the book because she told me to. And I called, I got to say one more funny story. I called a gal named Betty. Her name was Betty Bunker. She grew up here in Lafayette, and her father was the first postmaster here. And I said, Betty, tell me, remember the library? She said, only Mrs. Van Meter. And I said, well, I used to see her drive to the train station in the car. Did she go to get the mail? She said, no, I don't think so, because the mail in those days went to Walnut Creek, and then they brought it over here. Until about the end of the 30s, early 40s, then we had a post office. Before then, we didn't have a post office. Then we had one, and we had a post office, but no postmaster. And you'd go to the post, and you had a box. You got your mail out. But Betty told me, I said, you delivered the mail when you were a kid. She said, yeah, when I was 14, I got a driver's license. And she said, I got it in Martinez. She said, you know, the funniest part, I used to be able to drive back and forth across the road. She said, can you picture that now? She'd get in her car and she'd deliver that one, drive over there and do that one. Can you beat that? In Lafayette, this is mostly Happy Valley. If you lived out of town, you got your mail delivered. So she told me this on the phone the other day.
That's cute, yeah. So now, just getting into the new library, the process.
Yeah.
Have you participated in any way relative to this new library?
No.
No, okay.
No, only through Sally always asking. Yeah.
Okay. And what?
I was hoping that we would have a place, because most of this history, things that we owned, we used to own even the first, what would you call it, voting register, way back. And we still had all the signature of the men who voted the first time in California. And those were all given to a man that went to Oakland. So whether the Historical Society has them, my son sure would like to know. We were hoping the new library would have a place for this kind of stuff.
Well, the new
Oh,
library.
I'm sorry, I'm doing this. Okay.
The new library will have the Historical Society will have a place
I'm glad.
in the new library.
Yeah. Because we gave the anvil that's in the library now.
Okay.
We gave that to them. Whether they keep it or not, I don't know.
All right, the anvil, which was your husband's
Grandfather's.
anvil, is given. All right. So, with this new, you've seen the development of this
Yes.
new library.
Yeah.
And what kind of contribution do you think a library makes to a community?
Oh gosh, I think it's the most important thing in the town.
And why? Any ideas?
Well, of course, with the computer now, things have changed drastically. But for me, I'm at the library every week. One of my objections now, so many of us who don't read, I had eye surgery a while back. We started getting books on tape, and so I can read 3 and 4 books a week on tape, and our library has very few, as one little shelf. Of course, I would love more of that, but I don't know that that will be.
What I noticed big print books too.
Yeah, yeah. But, oh, I think it's an absolute must. And for the kids to go, and of course, unfortunately, I love the Moraga Library. It's much easier. It's laid out better. It's much easier to. It's quieter. You could sit. It's just nicer.
No, the new library hopefully will.
But then I get mad at Moraga because of all the traffic. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should put you on the transportation committee.
Oh gosh.
Or whatever it's called, traffic patrol. Now you have talked about a little bit about the transformation you have seen in Lafayette.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes back many, many years.
Yeah. So really, I think for me there was a period in there when my kids were little, when I really didn't use the library the way I do now and did later. So I asked, who did I call? 2 or 3 people the other day. Well, that would be in their 50s now, about the library. And they said, well, you know, they use the school library, the high school library or the college library more than they did the local library.
As students or as adults now?
As students.
Oh, right.
As students. Because I asked them, I said, I don't remember my kid. I asked my son, do you ever use the library down here? He said, oh, of course. I said, did you go a lot? He said, yeah. But he said most stuff we could find at the high school library in those days.
Yeah.
And now it's all on the computer.
Yeah.
I mean, so much is on the computer now.
Though libraries are bringing computers in
Yeah.
a lot too. So, have this transformation, you know, I mean, my goodness, 80 years, you know, almost 80 years, I mean, that's a lot of time for transformation to take place.
Oh.
Have you, is there anything exciting to you about the new Lafayette Library?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is exciting to you about the new Lafayette Library?
I think what's exciting is the accessibility.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. To me, I go by there and think, now you've got to stay well because you are going to use that library. It's going to be so much easier. Hopefully. It's still not easy because those streets are very small still. That Golden Gate is just, you know, a little street. So it's not going to be all that fabulous, but it sure beats what we have down here. Of course, the sad part of the library now is you have to remind yourself never to go after 2:30 because the mothers let all their kids are there. And the poor librarians, they just get frantic. So it's made it hard, but then what do? The mothers are working. I hope they're working, not playing. I don't know.
So you're talking about the access for the new library. Anything else about the proposed library that's exciting to you?
I think the fact that I understand we may have some historical area for history really thrills me. And I'm hoping we have room for some art exhibits because I'm a painter.
Good idea.
But Brenda has done a marvelous job of having shows. And of course, Moraga, they've been great about it. And they only have that little space behind. But all of us have taken turns of having our paintings there. But I would hope we could do that because, first of all, bring people in there. Even non-painters go to see these exhibits. So I hope that that would be there.
What other ideas do you have, like, for bringing the community towards the library? I mean,
A lot.
pictures, accessibility, you talk about accessibility, you talk about having, painting, local
And,
paintings displayed, any other?
well, and even getting authors in there.
Well, of course, they have Sweet Tuesdays now.
Yeah, which they do, yeah. But it's just so difficult to get there, and there's practically no place to park. So it's kind of hopeless.
Okay. Why do you think the citizens of Lafayette have responded so enthusiastically to the new library
I
project?
think accessibility,
Okay.
I think, boils down to
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing, and parking.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good. What outcome do you hope for most with the new library? I mean, what would you maybe think in terms of what this library could do outside of accessibility?
Yeah.
Or that
No,
the library couldn't?
No, I think it could be great.
In what ways do you think?
Because I think you could have more public things there than we've been able to have before. The only thing, originally all the arguments were having it too far away from the school. Well, everybody has their cars now. The kids are all driven, so I can't see that that's a problem. Because the more things you can have for children there, the better off we all are going to be.
And do you think that it will enhance our sense of community?
Yeah.
In what way?
Just as meeting places.
The meeting place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And we've got to do, more has to be done along that line.
okay, go on about that. I think that's
We still are a small town. And we do have lots of wonderful young couples here raising their children. And they come here because it's a small town. And it's a shame to get it to the point where it's so full of traffic we can't move. I go by, I go to McCullough's. Everything I own, I buy at McCullough's or at the thrift store where I work. But I go by and I think, all these little shops, I've never been in any of them. I think, where are you going to park? Well, you could park behind there, maybe this new garage thing.
Yeah.
Now, where they're built that, they've torn down my dad's office. And
where the new mercantile is being
yeah,
built?
my dad was a land surveyor here. He had an office there. And my aunt was a realtor. And they tore down her building and my dad's building. They'd be, I called my brother in Hawaii and I said, you won't believe it.
Yeah. So, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to comment? I mean, you have such a rich background. If we're talking about community and do you have any ideas?
Well, after a while, you kind of, I noticed I just reached, I didn't care. It got so bad.
Yeah.
I think when I can't get out of my own road, and my Sally, who I love, grabs about a stop sign down there. I said, if you'd all stop, we could get out of our road. Because they just slow down. So there's no space. So I think the other day I thought to myself, it's just making me cross that it could be nice, but it isn't.
Yeah, but if I'm hearing you correctly, we have so much to offer here, but the congestion is a major impediment. Is this what I'm hearing correctly? Yeah.
Except, as I said, I just got back from Hawaii. My brother lives on the Big Island, just north of Kona. And I used to go a lot, but I hadn't been there for about 3 years. The traffic was unbelievable. And I was talking to my granddaughter. She lives in Kauai. She said, you can't believe the traffic here. So it's not only the little town of Lafayette, it's everywhere.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Maui's terrible.
But it is a shame that we can't, people open little shops and they can't they go broke because how do you shop? How do you park down Main Street and go shopping? Really?
Well,
There's a little store called Bedazzled that has it.
oh yeah.
I wanted to go in there.
She's great.
And I thought the other day, oh, I'll find a parking place somewhere. But, you know.
But your thoughts are very interesting, and I appreciate them, and I.
They sound very negative. I'm sorry.
No, I think
Yeah.
we're good. So I'm complete, and then we're going to talk a minute, but I think I'm going to bring as far
Yeah.
as this interview, it's been terrific. And I'm going to just turn this off.